On September 12th, 1897, in a remote stone outpost on the northwest frontier of British India, 21 Sikh soldiers stood against 10,000 Afghan warriors. They had no chance. They had no escape. They knew they were going to die. And they kept fighting until the last bullet. This is one of the greatest last stands in military history, and most of the world has never heard of it. Episode 2, 21 against 10,000. To understand how 21 men ended up alone on a hilltop facing an army, we need to go to one of the most violent regions on Earth in the late 19th century, the northwest frontier of British India. Today, this land sits inside Pakistan, near the Khyber Pass. In 1897, it was the edge of an empire, a place where the Crown's authority dissolved into a maze of mountains and warrior tribes who had never been conquered by anyone. The British called these tribes the Pashtuns, the Orakzai, and the Afridi. They were fierce, mobile, and had spent generations raiding the lowlands. To control the frontier, the British had built a chain of stone forts along the Samana Range. The two largest were Fort Lockhart and Fort Gulistan, but the two forts could not see each other directly. Between them, on a small rocky outcrop, the British had built a third post, a tiny one, a signal station. It was called Saragarhi, a single stone building surrounded by a low wall. Inside lived 21 men. Their job was not to fight. Their job was to relay messages between Lockhart and Gulistan using a device called a heliograph, a small mirror that flashed sunlight in coded signals. Saragarhi was the eyes and ears of the frontier. Without it, the two forts went deaf. The 21 men were soldiers of the 36th Sikhs, a British Indian Army regiment raised 10 years earlier, drawn entirely from the Sikh warrior community of the Punjab. They were commanded by Havildar Ishar Singh, a 39-year-old officer whose decisions that morning would be studied in military academies a century later. By early September 1897, intelligence reports were flooding in. The Pashtun tribes were uniting. A massive force was gathering. The British called what was coming the Tirah Uprising, and the first place it would hit was the small stone post on the rocky outcrop, Saragarhi. September 12, 1897, just after sunrise, Sepoy Gurmukh Singh climbed onto the roof to begin his daily check of the heliograph. He looked across the ridges toward Fort Lockhart, 4 miles to the east. He prepared to flash the morning report. Then he looked toward the north. And he stopped. The hills, normally bare, were moving. Thousands of men, armed, advancing on foot through the gorges below. Estimates put the attacking force at between 10,000 and 24,000 tribesmen. The largest mobilization the frontier had seen in a generation. Gurmukh Singh turned the heliograph mirror toward Fort Lockhart and began to flash. Enemy approaching, strength estimated in thousands, Saragarhi under threat. At Fort Lockhart, Lieutenant Colonel John Houghton received the message. He made a decision that would haunt him. He could not send reinforcements. The terrain was occupied. Any relief column would be cut to pieces. He flashed back the only honest reply. Hold the position. Reinforcements impossible. Havildar Ishar Singh read the message. Then he walked the perimeter looking at his 20 men, 20 rifles, a few hundred rounds, and descending on them, an army. Around 9 in the morning, the first wave hit the perimeter. The Pashtun commanders expected to overrun the post in minutes. Before the main assault, they sent envoys. 3 times they offered the defenders their lives. Lay down your weapons. Walk out. You will not be harmed. 3 times, Ishar Singh refused. The 4th time, the messengers did not come back. The bullets did. What happened over the next 6 hours is known in extraordinary detail. Throughout the entire battle, Gurmukh Singh signaled every development in real time. The defenders held their fire until the Pashtuns were within close range, then opened with disciplined volleys. The attackers broke and fell back. They came again. They were beaten back again. By mid-morning, the Pashtun commanders changed tactics. They found the weak point, at the gate. The wooden door, weakened by gunfire, began to splinter. Ishar Singh saw what was about to happen. He told his men to fall back into the inner room. He himself would hold the gate alone to give them time. He stood in the breach with a rifle, then a bayonet, then a sword. He was the first to die. The remaining defenders fought from inside the building, room by room. The Pashtuns set fire to the post, trying to burn them out. The killing went on for another hour. And through it all, Gurmukh Singh stood at the heliograph. He signaled the first wave. He signaled when the gate fell. He signaled when Ishar Singh died. His final message was a formal request: permission to dismount the heliograph, permission to take up his rifle, permission granted. He was the last of the 21. By around 3 in the afternoon, the post was silent. Saragarhi had fallen, but the 6 hours the 21 had bought had changed everything. The British inside Fort Gulistan had used those 6 hours to strengthen their position and prepare a defense. The Pashtun attack on Gulistan failed. Reinforcements arrived. The Tirah uprising was contained. When the news of Saragarhi reached Britain, it stunned the country. The story was read aloud in the House of Commons. Members of Parliament from every party stood and applauded. Queen Victoria was personally briefed. All 21 defenders were awarded the Indian Order of Merit, the highest gallantry decoration available to an Indian soldier at the time. The bodies of the 21 were buried with full honors near the post they had defended. A memorial gurdwara was built on the site. Today, the Sikh Regiment of the Indian Army still commemorates September 12th as Saragarhi Day every year, without exception. The story is taught in Sikh schools and Indian military academies. UNESCO has listed it among the 8 greatest collective acts of bravery in human history. And yet, outside of India, almost no one knows it happened. Maybe because it happened in a small place. Maybe because the men were not British, not famous. But Saragarhi says something the world should not forget. Sometimes the most important battles are not the ones armies win. They are the ones ordinary men choose to fight. 21 men, 6 hours, 10,000 attackers. That was enough. If this story stayed with you, hit subscribe. Every week, The Forgotten Front brings you the battle's history left behind. Next time, another story you won't believe is true. See you on the next front.